What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD interview, where we interview top entrepreneurs, top coaches, top health and fitness experts, and people that just straight up dominate their space. So today I'm here with the guest that I'm super stoked about, you guys. This is a topic, and what she's doing and what she coaches on is something that I think isn't talked about enough, that gets missed. And I'm really stoked and excited to have our guest on the show today, JT O'Donnell. Thanks for being on the show, JT.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, this is awesome. You know, I wanted to get you on the show for a while. I came across an article that you wrote, and is really geared towards millennials. And being a millennial myself, and I'm kind of on the far end of the millennial range, being 33 years old. But you know, it's that generation I've grown up with. My friends, a lot of people that are, you know, that I went to school with, that just don't get it in the workforce. And I read the article. I'm like, holy crap, this is spot on. You know, and then I reached out to you, and that's ever since we wanted to get you on the show. So I'm really stoked to have you on the show. Before we kind of go into your journey and how you got to where you are, why don't you give us a little idea of what you're doing today and what your company does today?
Sure. So CareerHMO is a career improvement platform. Easiest way to describe it is it's like Netflix for your career, right? So you're able to go inside this platform and work with video tutorials, tools, community, and most importantly, expert coaches. So our coaches stream, they do live video streaming inside the membership site with office hours. And it enables our members to not only search and find videos and get answers to any job search or career advice question they have, but if they can't find the answer, they can then attend an office hour and have an expert answer it for them. And so we really think that this is the future of on-demand career coaching. We've seen the need. We've seen millennials, as you pointed out, are just so tech savvy. They're used to that ability to access a lot of data. And this is just a really succinct and smart way to do it. So we're excited. We're expanding like crazy. And that was part of the reason that we wanted to call attention to the fact that there's a lot of career coaching that needs to happen so that people that are around 33 or younger can start to feel super successful in their careers, because I think that frustration and anger they're feeling is coming from fear of, you know, why am I getting out in this workforce and not getting the success I was told I was going to have by following the rules. So hopefully we'll dive into a lot of that today and talk about it, because I love this generation and they deserve to really have that success, but they just need some things to help boost it.
Yeah. So, and I think it's absolutely awesome, absolutely amazing. And you're right. You know, we get sold this dream of, okay, go to college, you know, you go invest, you get yourself in 6 figures of college tuition debt, and you're going to go out there and get this epic job. And then we realize, holy crap, we put ourselves in this debt and went through all this to get a very mediocre job. Right. So, you know, but I'm sure you didn't start here. You know, what was your journey to what led you into this?
Yeah, you don't ever start, right? You have to start from the beginning like anyone. And so, you know, I feel like I experienced what the millennials experienced back when I graduated college in 1990. There was a recession going on then, really tough to find jobs. I fell prey to the first job that comes along syndrome, which is you just take a job so you have one. And that was the beginning of my career. And like most people, I kind of just kept moving and bouncing along, trying to find the next thing, following the rules society told me, which is, you know, try to find more opportunity, more money, et cetera, but all the while feeling like something's just off. This doesn't feel right, but everyone else does it. This is what you're supposed to do. And I literally got to the point where I was 33 years old. I was running a huge division of a company. I had a 6-figure salary. I had all these benefits and perks, and I was completely miserable. I had a new house I was never in, a new husband I never saw. I was out of touch, family, friends. I always tell this story. I found a sticky note on my desk, and it said, call your mom, from my assistant. It was dated a week old. And this was what I was supposed to be doing. If you just keep going, it's going to get better. And so fate intervened, and I was on maternity leave, fully expecting to go back to work with my firstborn child. And I had this realization, this panic attack, that I don't like myself. And she's going to see right through that. I can't sit here and do this for the next 20 years and try to convince her this is the right thing to do, because she's going to know it's not. And I can't do that. And so, you know, I looked at my husband and said, wow, I think I need to redo this. And he said, do it. You know, it's ironic. He's a pilot. He's known what he's wanted to do since he was 11. So he's never had the career frustration that so many of us have had. But he could see it, and he said, go figure it out. And so I will tell you, pain and fear drove me to do this. And so I walked away from corporate America, lost a few friends in the process who thought I was nuts, right? You're breaking every rule. You have all of this, and you're a woman, so you're really nuts. And I said, I'm going to go back to the drawing board. And that's when I realized nobody was talking about this. Nobody was talking about this push to go to college and push to get on a career track that was a complete treadmill. We were building this treadmill. And so that was back in 2001. And I decided, my favorite part of my job when I was working in HR and staffing for many years was actually coaching others and helping them find themselves. Yet I had never tapped into that for myself. So I went back to the drawing board, got certified, and said, I'm going to open a career coaching practice. And it was hilarious. People would laugh and joke. I would go out and they'd say, you're a what? What is this new age hooey stuff? And, oh, only people with problems come to you. But then guess what? They'd call me up the next day in private and say, I don't want to tell anyone, but can you help me? And it just snowballed from there. And so I followed this passion and said, if I have this problem, so do a lot of other people. I'm going to write about it. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to try to find answers, and I'm going to share them with people and see what comes out of it. And, fast forward a decade later, and I had written a book and I had a syndicated column, and it really, really grew out of just wanting to give back and getting more people on board. And now it's exciting because now we're moving into a phase where people understand that getting help, getting career coaching isn't a sign of weakness, which is what the older generations think. It's a path to greatness. And that's what the millennials were raised on. They've been coached their whole lives. So to me, it's an exciting time to be partnering with them because you know what? They're going to be better students than my Gen Xers and my baby boomers who just, the moment they try to get career coaching, they feel like they're broken in some way. And so I just have more fun at coaching millennials because once they get those tools, watching them run with it is amazing. And so that's how I got to where I am now. And I love it. And it's a problem that I'll probably work on solving the rest of my career, right? Helping people find more career satisfaction, more balance is really the key.
Yep, no, I love it. I love it. So when you transition, though, from corporate America into your own business, now you've transitioned into being an entrepreneur, and you've had some massive success with it, but I'm sure you also had some, there's the challenges that came with it. Because a lot of our listener base are people that are in corporate America right now, but they listen to the show for that inspiration, for that tactical information to make that transition into becoming an entrepreneur. So kind of walk us through, what was it like maybe, first couple years of trying to build this up and some of the struggles and, some of those great learning moments?
So one of the things that I did was career coaching was more of a hobby career in the beginning. So I did consulting. I went back to my former employers and said, hey, let me consult for you. And I was able to charge these higher hourly rates and really fund the process of building the business. And that's the first piece of advice I'd give anyone. Start it out as a hobby career. Take the pressure off yourself that this is going to be your primary source of income because there are learning curves, right? You do have to work out your model, your specialty, how you're presenting it to the world, how you're selling it. And to not have that pressure for me was the way to go. Versus some sort of clock ticking that I only had X number of dollars before I was going to run out. So that was literally over many years, from 2001 all the way up to 2008. And in 2008, I finally saw my moment. And this is why I'm saying take your time. Because the moment that I saw was that the recession hit in late 2008, 2009. And I knew that I wanted to build a blog, a career advice site where the best career advice, really bleeding edge stuff was going to be available to people because they'd be listening. They'd be in pain and they'd be listening. And this would be the chance to build the audience. So that's really where the switch came for me. But it took me all that time of working with clients one-on-one, figuring out what I did want to do, not want to do. Your business course corrects as you realize what your strengths are and how you want that business to monetize. Here's a great example. Everyone in the career coaching world says that career coaching has to be done in person. Well, that wasn't going to fly for me as I was with 2 children in New Hampshire. How was I going to work with the kind of candidates I wanted to work with? I threw that whole rule book out and said, I'm going to build an online version of career coaching. I'm going to leverage technology. I'm going to build a platform. Had I not had the capacity to do that, then it wouldn't have worked out for me. So definitely tip number 1, take your time, make it a hobby career, really get your business plan in place, and then you'll see your opportunity when you're ready to seize it. And then the second thing is just for me, and it's been a constant struggle, is the idea of getting funding or bootstrapping. And I chose to bootstrap, and it's not without its challenges. It is super hard. You have to think about every dollar. There are so many things you want to buy. You watch your competitors get announced funding, and they're building fancy offices, and it's really, really tough. You have to be stronger. But I wanted that control, that ability, if we needed to course correct, to be able to do that and not be beholden. And honestly, that's come in handy so many times I can't imagine, right up into recently. I mean, you never stop learning. We built a particular business model, tested it, parts of it worked, parts of it didn't. If I had investors right now, they could pull the funding and say, no, we don't want to do it anymore. But because we're private, we can say, okay, that part's failing. Let's redirect. Let's try again. And so as hard as that is as an entrepreneur, because that's the other thing we could talk about for hours, the pressure you put on yourself and then the feeling of failure and picking yourself up and going again. But had I not had that ability to course correct and not be beholden to someone, I don't know that we'd be here, right? So for me, those have been some of the bigger lessons. But I will tell you something, entrepreneurship is a lesson in humility. I feel so lucky to run my own business and to be pursuing a passion and a problem I want to solve, but it is hard and humbling. So you just work at it every day, and if you really believe in it, you don't give up.
Yep. Yeah, I love it. I love it. So when you're talking about finding your strengths, finding what my strengths are, what I'm good at, what are some recommendations that you have for people? I mean, what are some things that you did to find those strengths? Because sometimes we might sit there and ask ourselves, well, I really don't know what I'm really good at or what I'm not good at,
Well, so this is my, pet peeve, right? So when I went out looking for this, there were these really complex tests they wanted you to take. I don't know if you've ever taken the Myers-Briggs test. So it's this huge personality test. It's supposed to tell you your 4 traits. There's 16 combinations. By the time you're done, you're thoroughly confused and you think there's something like wrong with you because you don't understand all this. So I wanted to build a simplified way for people to assess themselves. And if you really think about who you are as a person to be satisfied and successful, you have to know some key things. You need to know your strengths in terms of, we call them your personas. And I would tell anybody listening to this, we built a free quiz that you can take. It's called the Career Decoder. You can go over to the site. It asks you 20 questions. Would you rather do this or this? We can all answer that. When you're done, you know what your top 3 personas are out of the 8 main personas in any work environment. There are 8 personas. And it's important you know that because that's why you like to do some things at the job and you absolutely hate to do other things at the job. So having that framework will make you see, oh, this is what I'm good at. This is what I want to do more of, and this is what I want to do less of. That's your first step. After that, you need to know some more subtle things about you. You need to know your interaction style. So that's your personality, your communication style, how you're perceived at work. And that's important. Then you need to know your work style. How do you like to execute tasks? And then lastly, you need to know your learning preferences. How do you like to learn on the job? And if you can understand these components, you'll all of a sudden see what your unique gifts are and how you should be finding work that aligns with that. And we've never been taught that. School teaches us everything except how to get the job and figure out the career. We literally were told, go to school and you'll figure it out, right? Huge flaw. But if you can just start with this assessment and having some of these answers, you won't believe the aha moments that will go off in your head. And it'll validate. You'll say, that's why I loved working on that project. That's why I couldn't get out of bed when I worked on that project. And the more information you have about that, the easier it is for you to go find jobs that satisfy you. And I'll tell you the simple way to know that. You will find true career satisfaction when you are leveraging your strengths to solve a problem that you care about that the business world needs. It's that simple because you might want to solve underwater basket weaving, but if nobody wants that, it's not going to work. But if you find the thing you want to solve and there's a demand for it and it leverages your strengths, it's a complete state of flow. And you can ask anybody that loves their job, that's what they'll explain is happening.
Yeah, and then it never feels like work. People are like, oh,
it doesn't.
JT, you work so many hours. We're like, well, I just have fun all day and I get paid to do what I love, right?
That's just it. It flies by. I don't mind working the extra hours because it isn't work to me. I'm constantly thinking about this stuff. You can feel the energy in me now. I just can't stop. And that's when you know that you found it.
Yeah, love it. So you have all, you're coaching a lot of corporate employees, entrepreneurs, I'm sure from every different aspect, right? What are some of when you take on these new clients that have maybe never had coaching or this type of coaching and training, that have only been exposed to, the formal training that we're all exposed to as we're growing up, what are some of the biggest things, the most commonalities, maybe the 2-3 biggest things that they seem to be doing wrong that you right away need to course correct?
Yeah. So I think the first thing that the number one mistake everybody makes is I'm an employee. I have golden handcuffs. I work for the employer. That is absolutely wrong. If you want to be happy in your career, you need to work with an employer. So turn the mindset off that you're an employee and turn on the mindset that you're a business of one. You are a business of one. Your job is to sell your services to that employer and exceed their expectations so that they want to keep you. Why? Because it is easier to keep a customer than it is to find a new one. That is the same in job search. Job search in America is about 9 months. And if you lose your job, it is much harder to get a job. There is a recruiting stigma that comes with not working. And that, don't shoot the messenger, that's just how it is. So for us, it's about really thinking, look, they don't owe me anything. We're partners. If I don't like the situation that I have with my employer, it's up to me to figure out how to change that. And it starts by me figuring out what my business model is and what I care about and how I'm going to deliver on a way that really impresses them so that they want to give me more responsibility. They want to give me more money. They want to give me promotions. They want to use me more. They want to give me more business, right? When we start to look at our careers that way, it's unbelievable the shift that people have. Because until they do, they sit there and say, well, they didn't give me any new projects to do, or they didn't give me the instruction that I needed, or they didn't do this or that. It's all about the employer. When you flip it around and realize they're my customers, and what do? We ratchet up the customer service because what we know is we'll get what we want from them if we do that. And so by far, I will tell you that is the number one mistake that I see, and it's the first thing that we shift in people.
Yeah, no, I like that. You know, I think there's this huge wrong persona of that. Okay, entrepreneurs create jobs, and it's like, no, I mean, really, we create opportunities. It's up to the employee to earn the job, and they have to earn it every single day as they're coming in. What do you do? Like, what is your recommendation for kids that are maybe in high school or in college? Like, how do they prep? You know, because I mean, the job force is different. I mean, the middle class is getting wiped out. You know, right? It just seems like it's getting more and more punished. People are getting wealthier. People are getting less wealthy, you know, the marketplace has changed. I mean, I look at, you know, with myself as an entrepreneur, you know, I can go to India and hire a VA for $5 an hour off of Fiverr or whatever it may be. You know, so what do you recommend for kids that are in that high school state to start prepping for?
Absolutely. So, you know, your point about globalization, it's removing a lot of those jobs. And we have a lot of high school students who are so busy. This is another thing. They're so busy trying to get into college and doing all the activities and things that are required of them that a lot of them aren't working. They're not taking those jobs and doing those internships and things that would prepare them for the workplace. So that's the big complaint that we hear. So if I could give any advice to high schoolers, it's work. Get a job and work all through college too. Even if you're being funded, work, because that work experience, there's a lot that goes on in the day-to-day operations that's going to get you up to speed, and you are going to stand out when you graduate. You're really going to know some of those social norms that happen in the workplace. You're not going to learn it otherwise. The other thing that I would tell them is that I think because we've realized there's such a gap here in the professional development of millennials, you're going to see a lot more attention paid there. So when they're hearing about opportunities to work on learning how to be an entrepreneur or being in a business, they should take any of those opportunities that come along. That will really help them as well. But above all, get a job, you know, and get a tough job, because that's the other thing. If you've ever had a really hard job, that is a huge driver for you to find a better job. And that's really what has to happen here. Otherwise, that's really what we're seeing now is the first jobs that millennials are getting are these jobs in the workplace, and they're miserable. Right? And they don't know where to go or what to do. Had they had more of that experience early on, I think that they could have been more focused and know what they're looking for when they get out in the working world.
Now, do you feel like I heard a stat recently, and I don't know if it's a true stat. You know, we always hear and see these stats all over the place, but it was something like 80% of people in the workforce are unfulfilled at their job. You know,
That's an accurate number.
Yeah. So do you think that that's the job that they're unhappy with, or is it because they're not taking that responsibility like you talked about, and maybe it's more of an internal struggle that they know they could be doing better and they're not doing better, and that's what's creating that unfulfillment?
That's it. That's absolutely it. What we do over time is learn what we don't want in a job, but those 80% that are unhappy can't tell you what they do want in a job. Yeah. They can't tell you what will make them feel fulfilled. So unfortunately, we continue to pursue something called extrinsic motivators, external motivators. When we don't know what internally drives us, that passion, we medicate by looking for external rewards. So what do? Well, this job is terrible. I need a job with more money. I need a job with better benefits. I need a job that does this. I need a job that does that. And we move from job to job. And when those external benefits wear off because they're really just bribes, we're right back where we started, where we feel demotivated because we haven't found our internal motivation for work. And some people will say, well, I know what I want to do, but I can't afford to do that. Well, again, this is where we start to talk about career is not necessarily the thing that defines you, right? I think one of the problems that we have in America, and I've talked about this a lot, is that we walk up to people and the first thing we say is, what do you do? And we feel so obligated to say something that impresses them, that all of us are on this journey to come up with these careers that sound impressive without ever really self-checking if they impress us, who is really the only person that matters. We have to live with ourselves every day, right? And everything that's going on up here. So you have to get off that idea of, does my job impress others, and say, what's the life that I want? What am I internally motivated by? Maybe your internal motivation is to pursue a passion or a hobby or an activity or a volunteer or a cause, and your career is going to support that. So a great example of that would be all the Olympic athletes work at Home Depot. When you ask them, what do? They say they're Olympic athletes. They don't say I work at Home Depot. Although a lot of them now say, thanks to Home Depot, I have the ability to pursue my dream. And we're just not seeing enough people take ownership of that. I think the reason that we see that is fear, right? Because guess what? It's going to be some work to get there. It's not all going to be fun. It's going to be hard. There'll be suffering. But you will get there. It's like anything in life. It's not just going to be given to you in a magic pill. And so that 80% is sitting around definitely unhappy, definitely haven't found their internal motivation, but not necessarily ready to get out there and do the tough work that it's going to take to create that authentic life and be happy.
Yep. No, I love it. So, you talked in the beginning a little bit about finding balance. And people are really focused on balance today. Your average, I think your average American works like 37 and a half hours a week. Like, what does balance look like to you, and how do you coach people on it? Because it's like, you got to go in there and put in the hustle. I mean, is there truly balance, and what do people need to expect with that?
So that's I think that there's a huge shift going on culturally that's going to be reflected in this in business down the line too. There are studies that show that excessive amounts of work take years off your life. But I would argue that those people that work the 50, 60 hours a week were doing work they didn't enjoy, right? Because there are plenty of other studies that show that people work into their 80s. People, the longer you work and you like your work, the longer you live. So there's all this, stuff going on about, being overworked, not working enough, whatever. I really think the solution is to understand what a balanced life looks like to you. And we teach people there's 8 key areas of life, right? So there's your career that you have to worry about, your finances, your physical self, your mental self, your significant other, your friends and family, your physical surroundings, your environment, right? And then your hobbies and recreation. And you're constantly juggling those things. When push comes to shove, you are going to put one of those before another. And no two people have the same priority. But it's very important that we all understand that, what is my priority of those 8 things? Is career number 1 or is it number 8? Because it may not be the same for my friend or my brother or whoever else. But I need to know what that looks like. And then I need to build a life to support that. So we're going to see more of that. And I think as people realize that, they're going to start to build that. And that's probably why you're hearing so much about work-life balance, right? People are understanding that I'm trying to figure out how to put these all together. Here's the upside. I think the next generation, Generation X, my generation and millennials, we're moving towards building what you'll see as lifestyle employers. You hear about lifestyle entrepreneurs all the time, lifestyle businesses. Those folks get it. They want to create life and work that they love. But not everybody's built to be an entrepreneur. And that's okay. Because if we could start to build lifestyle employers, those people could come to work for them.
Right.
And the secret to a lifestyle employer is having a very clear creed of, why does the business exist? What customers do we solve? And do we all agree that this is how we want to solve them? So you really build a strong tribe. You're going to see these lifestyle employers. Great example of a lifestyle employer is Cliff Bar Company. Private-owned company out in California doing amazing work, has a 5-point bottom line, profit only being one of them. And as a lifestyle employer, they're able to drive this incredible amount of productivity, by the way, out of their people. Incredible retention. Nobody wants to leave. And one of the sickest benefits packages you've ever seen that's been tailored to the tribe. It's been reflected to support their lifestyles. And I think we're going to see a huge rise in this. We're just going to, as more people want to come together and work together, because like you said, we don't create jobs, we create opportunities as entrepreneurs. We're going to see more of these businesses hopefully get bigger as lifestyle employers, where everybody's working together and feeling a great sense of satisfaction.
So for the employers out there that want to create, they maybe created this business to support their lifestyle, but maybe they want to give that same opportunity like Cliff Bars is doing to their employees, to gain more talent, to retain better talent. Because like you alluded to in the beginning, it sucks when you have to hire somebody new, retrain. If we could just retain awesome, amazing talent, we'd all be set. What are some of the transitions that you're seeing? Like what does Cliff Bars do that works so well with it? Is it total freedom of schedule? It's just, hey, here, as long as these results hit, we're good. How does that look?
Yeah. So one of the things that they've installed, and this isn't for everyone, is a 980. So you work 9 hours a day, you do 80 hours in 9 days, and you have a day off. And they stagger the team. So, half the company has Friday off one week, half the company has Friday off the next week. So they know they've decided that as a culture, they need to be there, they need to be present, but we're going to give people more time. That's one thing that they do. They're very passionate about sustainability. That's one of their 5 bottom line focuses. And they want people to be as efficient as they can be about commuting to work. They give people bikes. They give people credits for commuting together, and those credits are good towards acupuncture, massage, and personal training sessions. They pay everyone to work out 30 minutes a day. These were driven by the employees, and these were the things that they needed to be able to live happy, healthy lives and be able to contribute. And the company says we can have these benefits as long as we meet what? Our 5-point bottom line. So we can have these if we deliver. Right. And that's where you're going to see the fundamental shift, because we hear a lot of employers saying, oh, my gosh, I give them all these perks and it's not working. Well, it's not working because you're not saying what has to be in place for these to continue. You're not holding that, and then you're not bringing in the right people who respect it and want those things. So make sure that you're onboarding people who understand this and are going to maintain your standards. And there's a real difference, by the way, between a lifestyle employer and a company that just dumps a lot of benefits and perks. There are companies out there that are excessive with their benefits and perks. I won't name names, but I'm sure we can think of some. But they are then really, really hardcore about be ready to work 50, 60 hours a week, be ready for a competitive work environment. If that's great for your lifestyle, that's super for you, but that's not right for everyone, right? That's not a lifestyle employer. That's someone that's using benefits to hold it hostage. So for employers out there that want to become a lifestyle employer, it's about starting first with who are you, what do you represent, and what kind of person can have the lifestyle they want at your company, and then what kind of benefits and scheduling and everything else do you need to create for them to really be able to live and breathe that, and then you go recruit the right people to do that.
Yep, love it. Awesome. So maybe I'm that employee or that person that career is on the top, right? And I want to go out there and I want to get that dream career, go focus on it. Where do you start? Because a lot of people might be so focused on what are they going to pay me right now? And they're not so focused on, okay, what kind of opportunities is this going to be given that's going to define me into the person I must become? So, I mean, what do you recommend that people start? Maybe that somebody that's just getting out of college or that's ready for that career shift. Where would you recommend that they start?
So that's a fantastic question, by the way. I would suggest that they have some coffee talks. I would go find 5 people that have career success that you really admire. Right? And say, look, can I pick your brain? Can I buy you a cup of coffee? I want to hear your journey. I'm not looking for advice. I'm not looking for you to coach me later on, because a lot of people will reject you if they think that you're trying to tap into them to become this mentor and help them get a job. It's a one-time, I want to sit down and I want to hear your story. And if you do that with 5 people that you respect and admire, remember, you're choosing the 5. So the reasons you respect and admire them probably have some synergy to them. You're going to hear some patterns. And those patterns are going to be the things that you're going to be able to reinforce and say, okay, I get that. This is what I need to do. So that's the first step, is to really hear these people, hear their journey, and say, I see the patterns in the journey they took. The second step, like I said, is to get that assessment done on yourself. Know what problems you solve or pain you alleviate. This is the number one thing you need to do. No one's going to pay you to do anything if you don't solve a problem or alleviate a pain. And in this world, you need to present yourself as a specialist, not a Jack or Jill of all trades. So you have to get super succinct and clear in what you solve and how you solve it so that you can articulate that with confidence. That will attract opportunities to you. Once you've done that, what we teach people to do is create something called the bucket list, the interview bucket list. You go out and look for companies whose products or services you really admire. And I want you to think about that. Let me challenge you on that. Can you think of a company whose product or service you think about it, you just go gaga?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm a huge Apple computer guy, huge Mac.
Okay, perfect. So you think Apple, you love it. I want you to tell me, why do they deserve your respect and admiration? What have they done that makes you love them so much?
They build phenomenal machines and create just an awesome experience for myself as the consumer.
Absolutely. So what you just pointed out to me is the exact reason why you should work for Apple potentially.
Yeah.
When you can say, I respect and admire this company and what it does, and I can tell you why. I can tell you the life experience I've had or the work experience I've had that's taught me that. You've just identified how you're part of their tribe. And that's what every employer is looking for. What did we say earlier? Because any good manager will tell you, you don't hire just on experience. In fact, you're usually hiring on personality and aptitude first. Does this person have a personality that I can work with? And do they have the ability to be molded into what we need? And then, do they have the experience? Companies want you to want to be part of their tribe. They want you to get them. So if you can create a bucket list of companies whose products and services just, make you feel all warm and fuzzy, and you can explain why, now you've got a reason to reach out to those companies and say, I would love to talk to somebody that works there to learn what it takes to earn a job there someday. Don't get hung up on whether or not they hire your skill set or whether or not there's any job titles there that match what you've done previously. None of that matters. What makes you the same is that you're part of the tribe, and you need to start having conversations with people there to understand what it would take to earn a job. 9 times out of 10, there's a job in there that's not posted that you don't even know about. And the job title doesn't really reflect what it is that you would do, but you're never going to figure that out until you start having conversations with companies you care about. And that is how people get jobs this is what we teach them. And I get emails every day. I just got my dream job off my bucket list. Important on 2 points. First of all, you did it all by yourself. You took control of your business of one. And secondly, that's something that nobody can take away from you. It's a skill that you now have. So guess what? If you fall out of love with this company, you can do it again. And that's what we really want to teach people.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Steve Jobs said that as well when he was, hey, the talent, the skill is the ante. The question is, do they love Apple? Yeah, that's awesome. What is, and I know that this is probably kind of a controversial topic, but what is your personal belief on college today? I mean, you see so many kids going to college that really don't have clarity on what they really want. They spend all this money, try to discover themselves and end up getting themselves so much debt. I mean, what are your recommendations there and your personal feelings on college?
Yeah, so I think that someday this notion of getting a 4-year degree will go away. Because we all sit there and say we need to be lifelong learners. So why do we go to school for 4 years and then call it quits? That's just silly, right? I envision a day, as an employer, by the way, this is what I would love. I would love that we're always getting continuing education credits and that your resume or your LinkedIn profile would reflect how many credits you have. Right? Because think about that you've really proved that you've kept learning and that there was time for learning every year. I know I love to take classes and keep learning. I'm sure you do too. Yeah. But the 4-year degree, I think, will change over time. And I think that right now, in this particular environment, I would advise everyone out there that this is a financial decision above all else. Be really, really careful about putting yourself in debt because it's not debt that you can get yourself easily out of. And while degrees absolutely are how companies are deciding whether or not they should look at someone, they're still saying, do you have a college degree? Where that degree came from and how much it cost you is not something they ask you, right? Some companies only want to hire Ivy League. Fine. Is that a company that you're in love with? Well, then maybe you want to think about that and try to make the most affordable decision as you can about that. But for the majority of us, I would say, maybe take some college classes first, community classes, figure out what you like. Or if you figure that out, if you've really done the self-assessment work and you know what you want, go get the most affordable degree that you can that's going to give you the best amount of experience and diversity. And above all else, make sure that they have some sort of paid internship program. Yep. There's a school here in the Northeastern University. They do trimesters. And after your first year, one of your trimesters is an internship. You graduate with over a year and a half of work experience. Guess who gets hired first? Right? That's what's happening. So think more about the investment, how you can make it as cost effective as possible and try to work in as much work experience as you can with it.
Yep. Love it. So, okay, this question goes for really parents, right? So I've got 3 little kids. I know you've got kids. My kids are 7, 5, and 2, and eventually they're going to be, out there getting jobs and getting prepped. And school does a good job at teaching the basics, right? Teaching them the math, to read, whatever. But like you said, it teaches them nothing about how do I go out there and monetize on my skill set. What are some of the things that parents you feel, because we can't rely on schools to do this, what do you think parents should be doing to educate their kids if they have kids right now that aren't in the workforce yet? How should they be prepping and educating them as parents to get them ready and prepared?
So that's a great question. I think that, first of all, if you can help them get a job, get them a job. really let them have some work experience. It makes a huge difference. If they've got, a lot of scheduling activities on, what can you teach them at home about money? That's one of the big things. Do they understand about money and delivering on things? One of the things that we've noticed with this particular generation is that they did a lot of great collaborative work together, but oftentimes there wasn't a lot of pressure on delivery, right? When does it need to be delivered by? And then you get out in the working world, and what is that? There's a lot of time-sensitive delivery. So a great skill that you can be working with on your kids right now is, I need you to do this, and I need it done by now. And, you can reward and incent for that, or you can also penalize for that, right? If it's not done, to really get them to understand the concept of time sensitivity and delivering is something that you can do. But it's that work experience really makes a difference for them. So even if you have to create it in the home, do what you can.
And at what age? I got
to tell you, the earlier you start, the better. I will not kid you on that. The sooner that your kids are talking about that. And the other thing is, your kids need to understand every job is temporary. It is. We're predicting within 7 years, almost half our workforce will be contract workers because the rate of change is happening. So this idea of a business of one, it's coming whether you want to be one or not. Yeah. So why wouldn't you teach your children that? Why wouldn't you teach them that every job is temporary, project work, that whole idea of, earning money? I mean, we really need to bring back the whole idea of allowances. And, you don't get stuff for just making your bed or doing the things you're supposed to do as part of the family. You make money for adding value. You make money for helping us save money or make money as a company, as a business, as a family. So there are a lot of creative ways that you can start to show your children that they're getting paid for the added value they're bringing, not just for showing up, right? Because we do have this problem where we've been giving stickers and praise and A's just for doing what's expected. And that has created this problem that we have where people don't want to go beyond. And so the sooner that you can work that in, the better.
Yep, love it. So what do you personally do for yourself, for growing your businesses, for your own goal setting? How often do you goal set? How often do you pay attention to it? What does that look like? Is it daily reflection? What does that look like for you personally?
So I try to spend a lot of time on that, and I'm still guilty. There's a phrase that you need to work both in your business and on your business, right? And I think most entrepreneurs can sometimes get caught up in their business and not work on it enough. And I generally can see warning signs. When things start to wobble, so to speak, I know it's time to step back and look at the business as a whole and say, okay, where are the bottlenecks? What do I need to do to fix this in order to stay on track? So I do try to be really good about taking time out and working on my business. It's funny, when I take a break and I leave the office, people joke that, oh, JT's going to come back and she's going to have a million ideas. But obviously that's my time. I do it a lot on planes. I don't know about everybody else, but when I travel, that's my work on the business time, and I get a lot done. There's just a lot of clarity there, change of latitudes, I guess. So I devote a lot of time to that. And then, yes, you pointed it out, and as crazy as it sounds, I fought this for a really long time. I did, but that idea of meditation really works. And I don't know that I would call it meditation for me. I started out when I finally realized that I had to get my mind more quieted, or I wasn't going to be able to execute. I started out with just a simple meditation by Oprah and Deepak Chopra. Yep. And I got used to that and then said, I want something a little different. So for me, I tag it in with exercise. So I will run, and in that time, I set that hour to think specifically about the problems that I'm trying to solve in the business. And I do. I don't watch TV. I don't do anything. I have some music on, and I think nonstop about that. And it is amazing how much I've been able to quiet my mind and get laser focused on what I want to achieve. Address a lot of problems, right? Own up to things, be accountable for things. There's a lot of that has to go on when you take time to just think about it, right? Otherwise, you can distract yourself all day, put out fires all day, go home, not really think about it, and not focus on the business and get sucked up in it instead. So for me, the whole travel time out thing, and then definitely that daily, again, I don't know if I call it meditation, but it's become this real mental conditioning. Yep. Has made a huge difference for me.
So what does a typical day in the life, and I know it's tough because you're traveling, you're doing all of this, but what is kind of a typical day with your daily routine? Do you do that in the morning and then you do this? Like what's kind of a typical day for you?
I do, and everyone's different, right? So I'm a morning person. I'm up by 5:30 at the latest, and I like to habit stack. which is a trend that a lot of people are talking about right now. So I've come to learn a lot about decision fatigue, and that's sort of the thing I'm obsessed with these days, because I've realized that if I don't have decisions cleaned up, then I lose my effectiveness earlier in the day. So I've been getting up at early, banging out that workout, really thinking through those problems, coming back where I'm at the office by 8:30, sometimes earlier. And then I try to schedule my day to out throughout the week, so everyone can see my schedule. What's in the cloud, and you can look and see what I'm working on. And I just try to I have this checklist of things that I'm trying to get done. And from a strategy session, how are we growing the business, and how are we, achieving those goals? And, I have two kids I have two daughters, 14 this weekend and 12. And so they're really into after school activities. So I'm lucky enough to be able to be the person that gets them from school and takes them and do all that. And again, that's an example of that lifestyle employer that we're able to build. And I feel grateful for that. Right. So I get to do that. That disrupts my day in a good way, a little bit. Then I come back and I usually tend to do a lot of writing towards the end of the day. So all that writing work that I'm doing. And then I try to shut it down. I really do. Yeah, I'm guilty. I'll check the email before bed or whatnot. But for the most part, I try to shut it down and turn it off and go home and be really present. Right. And with my family, and practice a lot of gratitude. That's the other big thing, I think, is just always thinking about how lucky I am. Every time there's something negative, it's really easy to look at it and go, yeah, but there's this, and I practice a lot of that. So that's a typical day.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. So with, a lot of people will have this limiting belief that, okay, for me to be super successful as an entrepreneur or in corporate America as an employee, that means I have to sacrifice family time. That means I can't be that parent that I want to be, and it's totally, it is just a limiting belief, totally, BS, right? So what are some of the things that you do and that you recommend so people can create that career, create the financial world that they want in their lives, but also be that amazing parent and be that amazing spouse?
Well, so here's the first thing I think we want to talk about, which is, what's your definition of being an amazing parent or amazing spouse? Because I think personally, some people have some overzealous definitions of that, and they put way too much pressure on themselves to be this rock star, epic, perfect person that you're never going to be. I'm sorry, we're all flawed. That's how it is. Okay, so get real about the parent you want to be or the spouse that you want to be, and get honest about what that looks like. What kind of time commitment does that look like? Because people seem to get so all-encompassing about it. I can't go to that one event. I'm not being a good parent. Yeah, of course you're a great parent. You couldn't go to that one event. You'll go to the next one. I think we have to stop getting so caught up in it all and say, what's a healthy expectation of being good at this? The other thing that I'm going to challenge people on is that if you are a parent or a spouse, you want those people to be proud of you. You want to feel proud of yourself. Part of that is working and building work that you love and doing a good job and not sitting idle all day. You want to be a productive person. And those people in your life will respect and care about that. So, if you're really frustrated about all that and you're coming home, you're carrying that home to them. That's what you're giving them. That's not fair to them. So you owe it to yourself to build that career that satisfies you, so it drives you to go home and be the person that you want to be instead of blaming the job. Fix the problem. Figure it out. So we really have to look at that. And I think we do, studies show that, we hear all this, I want to be with my kids. I know you want to be with your kids. When do you want to be with your kids? Why do you want to be with your kids? Is that going to be forever, or is it going to be for the first 6 years of their lives? Like, we're just not looking at these things more clearly and then building our career paths to support them. And then my advice to you on that is find the right resources that will help you with your goals. If you're having trouble figuring this out, get some coaching, but then find the right group of people to support you. Find your tribe who are doing it the way you want to be doing it, and you will get your answers. And that's really the key.
Yep, dig it. So, you're coaching, you're consulting, you're providing a lot of education to the workforce out there. What do you do personally for yourself, though, for self-education? What does that look like?
Oh my gosh. Well, so I'm a voracious reader. I have a whole bunch of blogs and things that I'm constantly reading every single day. There's a ridiculous number of books that I have to read that I haven't got to yet. I love it. Anything self-help related, I'm fascinated by that whole psychology. So I learned a lot there. Going to conferences is a big deal, right? Getting out there and attending events. I'm lucky I get to go to speaking events, and I learn a lot of those, and also working with customers. So a lot on those things. Then if I see a particular skill gap, I'll sign up for a course or I'll take it just to build that up. And then the last thing is I do have a hobby career. I firmly believe everybody should have one. So it's that career that's not making an income or, sustaining you, but it's this thing that you drive your passion. So I love to teach fitness, and I have for over a decade, and I'm constantly learning new programs. I'll just go to a training and pay because I just love the experience of learning it. I may not get to teach the class all that often, but it doesn't matter to me. And so having that completely separate thing is great for me. It really re-energizes me when I come bato my main job.
Yep. Awesome. Love it. Love it. So I got a couple last questions before we wrap up here. But before I get into those, how do people reach out to you, JT? Where do they go? Where do they go to, you alluded to some of the assessment tests that are free that you have on your site. And this is for our listeners. You guys need to jump on. You need to do this. You need to check this out. This stuff is so ungodly critical. How do they reach out to you?
So they should head on over to CareerHMO.com. Tons of free resources there. The Career Decoder I mentioned, a lot of videos. They can sign up for our newsletter. A lot of tools that we have that they can use that will just get them started on this awareness process that we've been talking about, which can really help you. I connect with people on LinkedIn all the time. It's my favorite platform to connect on. All I ask you to do is just customize your connection request. I tell people this all the time. Go to find me, JT O'Donnell, on LinkedIn, click connect, and then just say, hey, I heard you on the podcast, and I will connect with you that way. That's by far the easiest versus you trying to send an email through the support email, which is a little hairy. So quick and easy. And also, I'm on Twitter all the time. So if you go to @JT O'Donnell, I tweet with people all day long. That's a great way to connect with me as well. But I do want to connect with people and, share this information. And, if you have any questions or concerns, really just if you're feeling unhappy, take a step. Take a baby step. Do something to make a difference.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. And I think in this world, we're either growing or we're dying, right?
Yeah.
Everything is you're either growing or you start the decay process. And our minds are the same way. And you see it when people retire. Right when they retire, it seems like every year that they age, it looks like they age 5. And it's not because retirement's bad, but they don't have that growth plan. So I couldn't. Self-development's so massive. So yeah, you guys get out there, check out her CareerHMO.com, check out that site. It's an awesome site. I've been on there. I've been playing on there. It's an amazing site. So, okay. So let's say something happens. Your health's fine, your family's fine, everything's good, but the business gets wiped out. Mm-hmm. But you've retained this PhD you have now in your head. Like you've retained all this amazing information from being an entrepreneur and going through this journey. So you know everything that you know today, but you have to start completely over with little to no money or resources. What are some of the first 2-3 things that you would do immediately to go out there and rebuild this empire that you've created?
It's a great question. So I think the first thing that I would do is start a blog, WordPress, free, Tumblr, free, whatever your platform is. And I would start sharing as much information and education and insight as I could with the world. Because the more that I can push out there, that's an audience, right? We used to go and speak to audiences, but now there's an audience there 24/7. So that would be the very first thing that I would start doing. I would probably turn on a camera if I could, which would be my iPhone, right? And just put that information out there and talk to people about my passion for solving that problem and get them to come and engage with me and have conversations with me. Every time I have a meaningful conversation with somebody, something happens. A business opportunity presents itself or an idea forms in my head. I just get out there. Your network is your net worth. So even if I lost the business, I'd still have my network, right? Are you going to let me keep my network? If you let me keep my network, that's my real net worth. Because I get out there, I can talk, I can have conversations, and I can find that next thing.
Yep. Awesome. I love it. So, the GSD podcast, the point of us creating this and doing this is to inspire, to encourage, but not just a bunch of inspirational, motivational, because that only gets people so far. It was, hey, let's give that inspiration, that motivation, but a lot of tactical knowledge and skills that people can implement in their lives immediately to go out there and create that life that they want. At the end of the day, and as far as I know, we only have one crack at this life, right? Like I don't know that, I don't believe that reincarnation exists. I don't have any proof of that. So as far as I know, we have one shot at this. And you got to go out there and create that life that you truly want, right? I mean, 97% of people today, it's so sad, but live and die amid mediocrity. So, the point of the show is to really give people the skill set and the inspiration to go out there and create that epic life. I mean, life could be so brilliant. You got to do it intentionally and you got to go out there and create it. But what are maybe some last words of encouragement and inspiration that you'd really want to give to our listeners to go out there and to help them go out there and create that epic life that they want?
Absolutely. So first thing I'd say is I look at our energy levels, you and I want people to know that we weren't born with that. That comes from the way we're feeling about our work. That just naturally comes out of it. And you will have that too. And I've watched so many people go from that, like you said, that mediocrity, depressed, confused, to just explosive. And it's because it's if you could bottle it, right? If we could bottle it and give it to people, we would. How do you do that? The practical steps are, you need to have a whole new way of looking at yourself. Because if you could have gotten it there by now with the way you're thinking, the way you're looking at the world, you would have. You absolutely would have. So you have to change something. Definition of insanity, right? You got to do something different to get out of that. So the way to do that is to voraciously look for knowledge. Start there. Start reading things. Listen to every single one of these podcasts, right? Because there's something there. Find the people that are resonating for you, that are talking about the things that make sense to you, and have that every day. Make that your personal routine, to listen to that 15, 30 minutes a day, because you need those positive messages. There's something called neuro-linguistic programming that goes on. And it's basically negative self-talk in our heads. Those are limiting beliefs that hold us back from doing what we need to do. The only way you are going to break down that negative self-talk is by reinforcing it with the positives that you need. And a lot of times we don't have those people in our lives. Our friends, our family, our coworkers, everyone's drinking the negative Kool-Aid. So how are you going to compete against that? Start with the conditioning. Just try that for a month. To listen. I'm going to listen every day for a half hour or an hour to some really positive stuff. Watch what happens. Guess what? You'll take a chance. You'll try something new. And all of a sudden, you'll get a new and different result. And that's how all of us, that's all we did. We just got so frustrated one day and said, there's got to be something better. And then we started to pull the positive stuff into our lives and really built off of that. And so that would be the thing that I would tell people to do. And there's no excuses. It's free. You can find those resources. Absolutely no excuses. And if you want it, all I'm asking is that you carve that time out each day.
Yep. No, dig it. I love it. And, and to our listeners out there, you guys, and I know we end every podcast with this, but information without implementation is delusion, right? So JT is top coach consultant for a lot of corporations out there. A person that's at the top of her game that's delivered so many amazing nuggets of information for you today. So take some of what you learn, implement it into your life, implement it into your business. Get onto CareerHMO.com. Don't wait, because you'll get sucked back into life. Right now, log on to CareerHMO.com. Check out the website, do the self-assessment, and start taking action. And JT, thank you so much for being here. Such an honor, such a pleasure. I know how busy you are. This means a lot to me and our listener base, and greatly appreciate you being here.
Oh, it was amazing being here. Thank you. You're an incredible interviewer. I'm so lucky. That was so much fun to do. Anytime.
Yeah, no, awesome. Absolutely. Sounds great. Well, thank you again. And like I said, it was an absolute honor. If there's everything we can do to help and support, we're here to do anything we possibly can. So
thank you.
All right. Take care.